But then I think you have not sent the link for today's class.
No, I have, Mataji. Please check.
No, I joined from yesterday's link.
Just a sec. Yeah, I think so, Mataji. So, Hare Krishna, Mataji, thanks for reminding. I thought I had sent, I had typed. I hope everybody's got. Have you got it? New link.
Yes, now I got, ma'am. So what should I do? Should I leave this?
No. This is the same link I have shared with others now.
Okay.
So, we'll start with the Mangala Charan.
Yes.
Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayyam Kadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Srirupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Tadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhamvitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhupa Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So welcome back all of you to another session of Bhagavad Gita in 18 days. So we will sum up what we did yesterday. Deepika Mataji, will you sum up for us?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, please.
We have done chapter 16, that is the divine and demonic nature. In that we have covered 26 quality of the Sattva Gun, that is the nature. Yes, and how the Sattva Gun, what is the Sattva Gun? Sattva Gun is to be humble and to gain a knowledge with to gain a knowledge. Then we will find out we have a Sattva Gun, the Raju Gun and the Tamas Gun, and we have find it out like material knowledge, we have a temporary.
Your voice is breaking. Can you speak a little louder? The voice is not clear.
Yes, Mataji. Actually, someone has muted. So spiritually, that comes to the with the internal soul, internally, and material we have a temporary. And then we have talked about 26 quality of the Sattva Guna. That is it's mentioned in the shloka number 1, 2, 3. And then we have talked about the lust, love, lust, and lust comes from Tamoguna, that is a corrupted form of the original love of Krishna. Then Sattva Guna, we have for Sattva Guna, we have to be fearless, full, purification, and we have to control ourselves. The self-control is must. Then we have talked about that 6 obstacles like another Kam, Krodh, Love. Love is mostly come from the greed and moha. And we have listed a story of Ambrish Maharaj on the characteristic of the Sattva Guna. It's very in detail chapter, Mataji, 15 and 16. So Mataji, you have reached it.
Yeah, actually these chapters are so deep that we can discuss each quality for 2 days. They are so deep rooted in our consciousness, these qualities, that if we go in detail, we can discuss each quality for days together. Because this is the crux. And after getting all these qualities, what do? You have to engage in the Lord's service. That inclination to serve God cannot come in Rajoguna and Tamoguna. So that is why it's so important to, cultivate Sattva Guna. So thank you so much, Mataji, for your inputs. Anybody else wants to contribute?
I started reading, I have read 16 chapters, so yet I thought I have a less knowledge. I have to read it. Then
So I think, Mataji, we will start with chapter 17. We will, I think there's some disturbance. Okay, so Hare Krishna. So in all, we spoke about the divine and the demoniac qualities. And all these qualities are born because of our association on 3 modes of material nature. When we associate with Sattva Gun, we develop qualities of goodness. And when we associate with Rajogun and Tamogun, we develop qualities of ignorance or demoniac qualities. So how our downfall begins, that we have to understand, and we have to eradicate every reason for our downfall. Everything else comes later. Our day-to-day miseries, our financial aspects, everything follows this primary. So we have to get to the root of this banyan tree and chop off this business. Because this banyan tree is a huge, endless tree of misery. As long as we are attached, we are going to suffer up and down on this tree. So now we will discuss how our association affects our faith. So we come to chapter number 17, the divisions of faith. Arjuna vacha ye shastra vidimutsaja yajante shraddhayanvita tesham nishtha tuka krishna sattvam ahorajastama. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Arjuna inquired, O Krishna, what is the situation of those who do not follow the principles of scripture but worship according to their own imagination? Are they in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance? So now we are reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is direct instructions of our God, And in so many chapters, God has himself. This is not my personal opinion. 700 shlokas as written by Srila Vyasadeva. No misinterpretation. So many times God has said, if you worship the demigods, you will go to them. If you worship, the forefathers, you will go to that planet. If you worship ghosts and spirits, you will go there. If you worship me, only then you will come to the spiritual world. Repeatedly, so many times. So now Arjuna wants to know what is the position of those who do not follow the Shastra and they worship as they like. What is their position on this banyan tree? Where do they, stand? So he wants to know this, what is their position? Apart from that, it gives you very good insight in analyzing people around us. Even actually animals, things, this knowledge is so useful even in our practical day-to-day life. Because every person has faith. It's just that it differs. Like somebody will have, like suppose you are getting into an airplane. Do you know the pilot? Do you know the air hostess? No. But for that much time, you are entrusting your life and putting faith in that pilot that he is going to take you to your destination, aren't you? Without faith, you can't even put a step forward. You will have faith. It's just that the faith in what you have faith will differ. And this faith, this particular faith that we all have, again, it is dependent on our association with these three gunas. We acquire a certain mentality, a certain nature, certain likes and dislikes based on our association with these three gunas, the Sattva-gun, Rajogun and Tamogun. Now, since, the Lord spoke in chapter 13 that people, who are, their faith is inclined to the, the scriptures, they are in Sattva-gun. But what about those who worship as it is? Because as per Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the only worship object is Lord Sri Krishna. Sometimes what happens, people worship rich people, because somebody is very rich, because somebody is very powerful, because somebody is very famous, we worship them. So like that, how this faith develops, that Lord will explain. So here, Krishna concluded chapter 16 by establishing that those who follow Shastra are divine and those who do not are demoniac. So Arjuna inquired, would like to know where on the banyan tree of material world are those who faithfully follow something or other than Shastra. They are also faithful in their attempt. Like, a gang of dacoits, they are very faithful amongst themselves. They loot a bank and then they share equally. They are very loyal to each other. But is this loyalty correct? They are very loyal. They are very organized. They are very systematic. They perform dacoitry perfectly. It is a skill. But where are they stationed? On this banyan tree. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, according to the modes of nature acquired by the embodied soul, one faith can be of three kinds: in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance. Now hear about this. So now the Lord is going to explain how each individual acquires a certain faith based on these three modes of material, and what kind of faith they acquire. 3. O son of Bharata, according to one's existence under various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes he has acquired. So now this modes, everything that we see around us, whether it is our faith, our likes, dislikes, our good, bad, our opinions, our attractions and aversions, they are all influenced by these three gunas. Nothing is independent here except bhakti. Bhakti is not under the control of these three modes of material nature. These three modes of material nature, they are the representation of the external energy of the Lord, Maya. And what is the internal potency of the Lord? Srimati Radharani. So all the conditioned souls, the rebellious souls, they come under the jurisdiction of Maya. That is Durga Devi and the three modes of material nature. But those Devim Prakritim Ashraya. So those who are inclined towards the transcendental devotional service of the Lord, they come under the jurisdiction of the internal potency, Srimati Radharani. So what does Srimati Radharani do? She takes you closer to God. And what does Mahamaya do? She takes you away from God. She bewilders. She will give you some temptation. That is a business. So all these three gunas, they are conditioned states. Pure bhakti cannot develop, because actually, they say sattva gun is recommended. But I heard from our seniors, that the sattva gun is most difficult to transcend, because you are so conditioned with happiness and knowledge, you get entangled, you become opinionated about yourself. Whereas that is not our destination. We have to transcend even Sattva Gun. Sattva Gun will give you good, pious results, which will result in more sense gratitude. Swargalok you will acquire in Sattva Gun. And Sattva Gun, in Swargalok, there is ample opportunity for sense gratification. So much sense gratification is there, high standard of sense gratification, that you will get so engrossed in it, you will forget everything about spirituality. Like Indra forgot how Indra fell down. So 4, men in mode of goodness worship the demigods. Those in mode of passion worship the demons. And those in the mode of ignorance worship ghosts and spirits. Now, what are these faiths? So people who are, associating with Sattva Gun, they are inclined towards the scriptures. And they worship demigods, the Pancha Yagna process, because the primary spheres of activities in the material world are 4. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. These are the primary 4 spheres of activities we have. The activities we undertake to complete our duties, that is the Panchayagna. Dharma, Artha, for economic development, those are another set of activities. Kama, sense gratification. Everybody has some desire, so they work to fulfill those desires. And moksha, the topmost, is towards liberation. So even these activities which are designed in the Vedas are so that gradually we come to the final, the ultimate purpose of human life, that is moksha, get out of the cycle of birth and death. But what happens, the standard of sense gratification is so high that a person forgets everything about moksha. He's only entangled in dharma, artha, kam. That's all. So Shraddha or faith originally comes out of the mode of goodness. One's faith may be in a demigod or some created god or some mental concoction. So this Shraddha, it is born, it cannot be born in Rajogun and Tamogun. Basically, you have to come to the platform of Sattvagun to develop some Shraddha also, some faith. One's faith may be in demigod or some created god or some mental concoction. One's strong faith is supposed to be productive of works of material goodness. But in material conditioned life, no works are completely purified. Even in Sattvagun, you are not completely pure. You are better than the others. You are better than people in Tamogun, Rajogun. It's something like, suppose I want to sow a seed for a plant. So the soil should be very good. The sunlight should be very good. I must water it. So when the conditions are ideal, that seed is going to sprout. If I sow the seed in plastic, or I sow the seed in a place where there is too much water or filth, will it grow? It won't grow. So Sattvagun is like that tilled soil. It is like that, ample sunlight, ample water, enough, adequate, not too much, not too less. Okay, so Sattvagun is like that. It is a very good ground to sow the seed of devotional service. But you are still not there. You are still contaminated. Why? Because you are still conditioned with happiness and knowledge. So they are not in pure goodness. Now, pure goodness, we have to enter. If you want to transcend the material sky, you have to, get into Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness, above Sattva Gun also. So pure goodness is transcendental, because pure goodness, bhakti is transcendental, pure goodness. Only then you can engage in bhakti. No tinge of any sense gratification. In purified goodness, one can understand the real nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without this purity, people will only find fault in Lord Krishna's character, because they are corrupted like that. Mentality is polluted. They cannot understand what God is. They cannot even comprehend. As long as one's faith is not completely purified in goodness, the faith is subjected to contamination by any of the modes of material nature. The contaminated modes of material nature expand to the heart. Therefore, according to the position of the heart in contact with a particular mode of material nature, one's faith is established. It should be understood that if one's heart is in the mode of goodness, his faith is also in the mode of goodness. If his heart is in the mode of passion, his faith is also in the mode of passion. And if his heart is in the mode of darkness, illusion, his faith is also contaminated. Thus, we find different types of faith in this world, and there are different types of religions due to different types of faiths. So based, now this is the crux. So there are so many religions in the world based on different kinds of faiths one has acquired due to these three modes of material nature. Why this distinction when God is one? But faiths are, they can be many. If somebody doesn't accept the supremacy of God, they can worship as they like, based on the conditioning they have acquired. So the real principle of religion, religious faith is situated in the mode of pure goodness only. So actual spiritual faith, actual purified faith, that is why they say, you know, many people, they don't develop attraction from Radha Krishna. It is only after sufficient purification that you will accept God as He is. You won't accept. But because the heart is tainted, we find different types of religious principles. Thus, according to different types of faith, there are different kinds of worship. So there are different types of people, you know, they are as per their association with the modes of material nature. And likewise, they are attracted to different kinds of principles. So now in the coming shlokas, we will discuss what kind of faith these people acquire and what is the result. 5 and 6. Those who undergo severe austerities and penances not recommended in the scriptures, performing them out of pride and egoism, who are impelled by lust and attachment, who are foolish and who torture the material elements of the body, as well as the super soul dwelling within, are to be known as demons. So they, people like, you know, Hiranyakashipu, nobody can perform penance like him even today. No one. That was the standard of his penance, but for the wrong purpose. For some material sense gratification, he wanted to be, you know, eternal, Amar. But the process is wrong. The process to be eternal is described in our Shastra. That you have to engage in worshipping the Lord, meditate on his transcendental qualities, and then you will acquire his own nature when you think about him while passing away from this body. Antakale cha mameva smaran mukta kalevaram ya prayati samadhava nati yati nastra samshaya. So this is the criteria. But what did he do? He, you know, he stood on the tip of the toe of his foot nail. Just imagine the penance he performed. Physically so different, control his breath, did everything. So much so that, you know, the started shaking, the gas started coming. So the Brahmaji had to come. So severe the penance was that it was creating disturbance for others in the material universe. And Ramaji came. He asked him, I want, I should neither die, I should not die. Actually, his first condition is that grant me a boon that I should not die. So Brahmaji tells him, it is not in my power to give you that. I cannot do that. That is Mukunda. Mukunda only can give mukti and, you know, eternity. I can't. You ask something else. So then he says, okay, I should not die in the day. I should not die in the night. I should not die up. I should not die down. I should not be killed by an animal or a human being. So many conditions. If he feels I'm very intelligent, I can avoid all these miseries by my mental abilities. That is a demon. He'd never accept the powers of God. He doesn't. He cannot because he's so contaminated. That controlling mentality is there to change what God has said. Can anybody escape death? You can't. So the process is there in the scriptures that you want to get a nature like Lord Sachidananda, then you must meditate on Him. Meditate on Him, worship Him, all sorts of Bhagavad Gita. From beginning we are reading all these processes. But what did he do? He started worshipping whimsically something else for the wrong purpose. So that is demoniac. So they are foolish. They don't know the actual purpose of life. They perform penances. Look at Ravana. Atmalinga he got. Severe penances he did. That nobody could defeat him, this. But ultimately, he could not control his senses. As soon as that meditation is over, in fact, Ravana was cursed by, I think, Indra's wife because he spoils her shield. That, you will not be able to touch a woman without her permission. If you touch her, you will die. That is why when Sita Mata was kidnapped by him, he never came close to her without her consent, because not that he would have done what he had wanted to do, but because this curse was there, that if you touch a woman without her consent, you will burn to death. So these demoniac people, they don't understand the purpose of the Shastra, and they perform penances in great difficult ways for the wrong reasons. So here, Srila Prabhupada further explains that what conclusion can we draw from these? Those who are worshipping yakshas and rakshasas according to their nature, faith, may receive the potent mercy of Vedic authorities, and then by developing some faith in the revealed scriptures, their demoniac nature may subside. But those who worship demigods are factual in the mode of goodness. So by mercy of saintly association, it has been easier for them to develop faith in scriptural authority. So these Rakshasas or demons, they worship Rakshasas and Yakshas only. Like Hiranyakashipu said, don't worship Narayana, worship me. And the people in general, they see, oh, what a powerful man. And they used to worship him. In fact, anybody who worshipped Narayana in his kingdom, he was put into misery. His soldiers will capture them, trouble them, spoil the yajna. So they wouldn't allow others also to, worship as per scriptures. They manufacture their own way of worship for their own selfish motives, and they don't pray to God. At least the devatas are better. They worship the demigods according to scriptures. Lord, for people in different modes, has made the system of Pancha Yagna, so that gradually they come to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because only after sufficient purification that is possible. So, while reading these descriptions of the effects of modes of nature on a person's worship and activities, and following descriptions of food, sacrifice, austerity, and charity, we naturally place ourselves and others into categories of goodness, passion, or ignorance. Now in this chapter, we are going to discuss how, our choices of food, austerity, charity, penance can put us in different, gunas. Individuals are not, however, neatly influenced by only one mode. So please remember this. We are not purely in goodness. We are not purely in passion. We are not purely in ignorance. There is always a combination. The three modes of material nature are compared to the colors: goodness to yellow, passion to red, and ignorance to blue. So, Srila Prabhupada often explained this, like primary colors are there. And mixture of these primary colors gives rise to millions of colors, so many shades. So here, goodness is like yellow color, passion is like red color, and ignorance is like blue color. And always there is some mixture, and so many faiths develop like that. So 9 colors are created by mixing each color with remaining 2 colors. 3 into 3 is 9. 9 into 9 is 81. And like that, all these different, field of activities are created by mixture of these different modes of nature. So many yonis, 84 lakh species of life. Field of activities are, and likewise the faiths are also created. Different faiths. Everybody is putting their faith into something. The fish maybe is putting her faith into water. So our faith is based on our association with these modes. We could continue mixing colors again and again, and an unlimited palette of colors is created. Similarly, the three modes can be mixed into 3, 9, 81 combination, or mixed again to form even more subtle combinations. You can have so many faiths, and that will decide your position on the banyan tree, where you are. Lower head of the banyan tree, roots, or you have reached the root, the main root, from where this tree is growing, starting. We have to get there. That is our destination. But we get lost in this banyan tree because of our faith. Indeed, each conditioned soul acquires an individually tailored body and set of circumstances in the material world. So our body, it is tailored as per our consciousness. Just like we go to a tailor, he takes the measurement and he sews up, our dress. So because of our conditioning, our consciousness has taken a form. And based on that consciousness, a new body is designed for us, based on our desires and past activities. So there is a very nice story I heard, as a child, that there was an old woman, very selfish. She would never donate anything to anybody, never did any good jobs in her life. And soon she died, and the Yamaraj took her up, and there, Chitragupt is there, and they're seeing her account. No good deeds. So he says, take her to Narak. So she starts quarreling, very quarrelsome she is. No, how can you put me in Narak? You check, I must have done something good. I have done some good things. I can't go to Narak. Very stubborn. So they check again, and they see that once, in her lifetime, she had given a rotten radish to a beggar. It was rotten radish, and that she had given. She did not have the heart to give anything fresh to anyone. So this Chitragupta says, okay, this is the only good deed you have done. You have given a rotten radish to somebody. She becomes very happy. Oh, I told you, no, I have done some good deed. So now what? So he says, see, now this radish only will take you to Swarg. Swarg is up there, high up, and everything down, is Narak, bottom. So I'm going to let this radish fly. you just hang on to the leaves, and this radish is going to fly and take you to Swarg. She becomes very happy and she holds on tightly to the leaves of the radish. And it goes some way, she's very happy. Oh, I'm flying to heaven. And because that radish, how much strength will it have? Just after a little while, the leaves they break and she goes and falls into hell, her original place. So this is how, our faith, they direct our activities, and our activities bind us into another body and circumstances. And many times people say, no, I got into such circumstances and this is the cause. You always have a choice not to become a victim of the circumstances, but it doesn't happen because of our association. Vinashakale viparita buddhi, they say, when you have a different mentality altogether, when you are get into miseries. At times, therefore, we find a person whose modes basically agree with ours, yet who is still different from us. Our modes may correspond with another's in terms of 9 or even 81 shadings, but the more subtle shadings of modes between individuals must certainly exist. So sometimes we see that, our mindset and somebody else's mindset matches. That is because of this guna prabha. Because that person is also, has tinges of certain modes in him. That is why when you're getting married, they match the gunas. 7. Even the food each person prefers is of 3 kinds, according to the 3 modes of material nature. The same is true of sacrifice, austerity, and charity. Now here the distinctions between them. So the kind of food we eat, the kind of sacrifices we perform, the austerities and charity, they determine what mode we are in. So the Lord is going to explain all this. And because of these things, a particular faith develops. Because of our food, because of our austerity, charity, and sacrifices we make. What kind of sacrifices? People say, I made such a great sacrifice. For what purpose? 8. Foods dear to those in the mode of goodness increase the duration of life, purify one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such foods are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart. So wrong choice of food can affect your faith. It can affect your decision-making process, that is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. So the people who are in modes of goodness, they prefer, and who want to purify their lives, they choose foods which are, basically, it is mentioned here, such as juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart. So they prefer vegetarian food. They don't entertain meat eating. And they don't have, they say, that any food which is prepared 3 hours prior, it becomes tamasic. It is not fresh. So we must have fresh food, freshly cooked food. And all these, processed foods, they come in the category of tamasic, whether it is biscuits, sauces, because they are preserved long ago. And this kind of food is not going to yield an mentality which is conducive for devotional service of the Lord. So the realization will never come, millions of births. Foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, hot, pungent, dry, and burning are dear to those in the mode of passion. Such food causes distress, misery, and disease. People who are influenced more by Rajogun, their choices of food are strong taste, spicy, tangy, too bitter, too salty, masaledar, like that. They have strong taste like that. But this kind of food, it neither awards good health, it is scientifically proven today. You have too sweet, problem. You have too salty, problem. Diabetes for too sweet, blood pressure for too salty, and if it is very bitter or sour, then more problems according to that. Sour, more lactic acid. So these foods, they create misery, distress, misery. Okay, Mataji. And disease. Food prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten, food that is tasteless, decomposed, and putrid, and food consisting of remnants and untouchable things is dear to those in the mode of darkness. Thank you, Mataji. So that food which is prepared 3 hours before, which is, tasteless, basically rotten, the actual flavor of the food, vegetable is gone, decomposed. Usually dead bodies are decomposed fast, So decomposed, which is stale, all these come under putrid. Food consisting of remnants of untouchable thing is dear to those in mode of darkness. They like it. They love that rotten taste because of their association with the tamogun. They love it. But what is the result of having such food? Of passion, misery refers to depression one feels after thus eating, and disease refers to the results yet to be felt. The next 3 verses describe the various sacrifices performed according to the modes of nature. So these kind of foods, they yield misery because there is reaction involved. Too much. So you cannot experience that happiness also. Only in Sattvagun you will be able to actually experience true happiness. 11. Of sacrifices, the sacrifice performed according to directions of the scripture as a matter of duty by those who desire no reward is the nature of goodness. So many sacrifices are performed. The Pancha Yagna is there, and other sacrifices also. But these sacrifices we must perform as a matter of duty, not to get something in return. Just because Lord has arranged it so, I have to do my duty and that's all. This is in mode of goodness. Sacrifice performed in the mode of goodness without expecting anything in return. But the sacrifice performed for some material benefit or for sake of pride, O chief of Bhartas, you should know to be in the mode of passion. When we are doing sacrifices, all the Pancha Yagnas, worship of, sacrifices towards demigods, guru, sages, and our forefathers, all these, if they are done because you have some fruit, expecting some fruit out of it, that is supposed to be in the mode of passion. You are performing one Putra Kamishti Yagya or some other Yagya to beget children. It is in the mode of passion. And duty which is performed without any expectation, that is in goodness. 13. Any sacrifice performed without regard for direction of scripture, without distribution of prasada, spiritual food without chanting of Vedic hymns and remuneration to the priest without faith is considered to be in the mode of ignorance. No prasada. We see often, people, they worship spirits and ghosts, and some places they even worship animals like dogs. They concoct an image and they put their faith into that. So this, our living, the choices we make in our life have a great role to play in dovetailing our future choices. So these people, they whimsically worship according to their faith, acquired faith due to the different modes of nature. The next 6 verses, they explain austerities performed in the modes. So we are discussing the kind of food we eat, the kind of sacrifices we perform, the austerities and the charity in this chapter. In detail, the Lord has explained. Austerity of body consists in worship of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual masters and superiors, like the father and the mother, and in cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence. So we have austerity of body, we have austerity of mind, we have austerity of speech. These are all austerities we can practice even while we are living in the world. So austerity of body consists in worship of the Supreme Lord. Actual tapasya is only in worshipping the Supreme Lord. The shloka, we will read the translation. "14. Adhishtanam, the place, tatha, also, karta, the worker, karanam, instruments, cha, and prathak vidham of different kinds, vividha, various, and prathak, separate, chesta, the endeavors, daivam, the supreme, cha, also, eva, certainly, atra, here, panchamam, the 5th. So there are 5 factors of action which are explained here. The place of action, the body, the performer is the name, the soul, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor he takes for that activity, and ultimately the super soul. These are the 5 factors of action. So everything performed in relation to God only is actually transcendental. Everything else is contaminated. 15. Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. So the right austerity of body is to perform action to please the Lord, the Paramatma in the heart. Anywhere in the scripture have you seen that, Agni sitting in our heart, Brahmaji sitting in our heart? No. Paramatma is always Chaturbhuj, Vishnu. So austerity must be performed to please him, not for any other purpose. So that is in goodness. Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful. So consciously, we must inculcate the habit of speaking the truth. But one must have the intellect to know when to speak the truth and when not to speak the truth. Sometimes, truth we must speak, but we should know when to speak that discretion should be there. truth, pleasing. Politeness is a virtue of goodness. Harsh speech is because of passion and ignorance. Beneficial, not agitating to others. If you are going to agitate others with your speech, there will be reaction. So better, so control your tongue. This is austerity. What is austerity? To keep our senses uh, away from sense objects for the purpose of spiritual realization. This is actual for realizing the Supreme, not for any other purpose, not for some fruit, not for our whimsical, ego. So austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to the others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literatures. So why do we perform austerity of body, austerity of speech? This is for our purification, so that we gradually get purified of our material desires. 16. And satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence are austerities of the mind. So how does the mind becomes austere? How do we perform tapasya? Even though simplicity. Simplicity actually means that you are the same inside and out. Duplicit people, you see, it is simplicity is opposite of duplicity. They portray to be something else, though they are something else inside. That is duplicity. So one must inculcate this simplicity in one's character. This is also austerity. It is great penance, tapasya. Gravity, self-control, controlling the senses, and purification of one's existence are the austerities of the mind. So when you are simple, your mind is not complicated, you will purify. 17. This threefold austerity performed with transcendental faith by men and not expecting material benefits but engaged only for the sake of the Supreme is called austerity in goodness. So tapasya or austerity performed for the sake of the Supreme Lord, only that is in goodness. Penance performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor, worship is said to be in the mode of passion. It is neither stable nor permanent. So this kind of austerity is not recommended in our scriptures. It is non-permanent and it is not stable also. 19. The penance performed out of foolishness with self-torture or to destroy or injure others is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Like, Drupat, he performed great yajna actually, not penance. Hiranyakashipu again. To destroy others or, foolishly without scriptural injunction is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Austerities can be performed in order of progressive difficulty with the body, speech, or mind. This was referred to in the text 17 as the threefold austerity. Each austerity can be performed in either goodness, passion, or ignorance. As an austerity of speech, we should not speak words that pierce others' hearts. We should speak the truth, but not the bitter truth. A difficult mental austerity is always to desire others' welfare. So the best austerity is not to, engage our mind in planning evil things. We must plan welfare of others. Always. The mind will keep saying, oh, forget it, forget it. But one has to tame the mind and get it back. No, We must see where everybody's good lies, not just my good. So we must inculcate this kind of austerity. 20. Now the Lord will tell about charity, how the different kinds of charities, they decide in which mode we are and where it will take us. Charity given out of duty without expectation of return at the proper time and place and to a worthy person is considered to be in the mode of goodness. I think Prabhuji asked this question yesterday. So this charity also, when we do something in charity, whether it is in goodness, passion or ignorance, we will know. Charity given out of duty without expectation of return at the proper time and place. Proper time when you are giving the charity. Place, holy place, pious place. And to a worthy person. You must never help, a crooked-minded person in charity because he is going to put that money to wrong use. So whenever we are doing charity, we must see what kind of person we are helping. Because suppose you are doing charity, you have gone and given some money to a beggar in the street, and he goes and has maybe liquor with that money. And in that intoxication, he kills somebody or injures somebody. Who is responsible? You will become responsible. You will unnecessarily get entangled in his karma for helping him. So that is why in the olden days, charity, was given to Brahmanas. Because at least their living and behavior is certified. They live in a certain way. They live strictly, they are vegetarian. Now suppose you give money to somebody. He goes and buys mutton or chicken with that. And he eats that. And then this reaction for killing that animal, you will also get involved. So which kind of person you are giving charity? So many a times they say, why should you feed only Brahmanas and why not others? Because when you are feeding Brahmanas, you are promoting Sattva Gun. You are not promoting other modes. And Sattva Gun should be promoted. You can feed others also. If it is Krishna Prasad, you can feed everyone. But charity should be given to the right person at the right time. Like it is prescribed in the scriptures, that at the time of eclipse or certain, festivals and all, charity should be done. They are good time because your charity is multiplied. But again, your choices depend on your conditioning. What kind of charity you undertake. So, to a worthy person is considered to be in the mode of goodness. So, he must have the intellect to know that when we are doing charity without expectation in return at the proper time and place and to a worthy person. Usually when we go to, pilgrimages, people do a lot of charity there. Because holy people are there at pilgrimages. Helping them in their spiritual path is good. If you are going to do charity outside a pub or maybe some dirty place, what kind of people will be there? You will not get the right candidates also. 21. But the charity performed with the expectation of some return or with a desire for fruitive result or in grudging mood is said to be charity in the mode of passion. You are doing charity because it has to be done you have to willingly, do charity for welfare of everybody. And what is the ultimate welfare? That one gets to the top of this banyan tree, to the root, where this tree is growing. You have to get to that point with all these things, with your austerity, with your charity. The kind of food you eat influences your choices. 22. And the charity performed at an impure place, at an improper time, to unworthy persons, or without proper attention and respect, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. So many people, they are very puffed up because they perform charity. I have seen people, distributing mutton, chicken, biryani in the name of charity. First of all, this kind of charity will not yield any good results for the person who is performing charity, and for the person who is taking that charity also, because he is getting entangled in reactive process. You are also getting reaction. It is not enjoined in the Shastra. So this charity, doing charity whimsically for ego, for some result, or without scriptural injunction, is waste. So one must follow the Shastra. Up to the point, Krishna has described how one can recognize the modes of material nature under which a person exists by the person's worship, food, austerity, sacrifice, and charity. All three modes and their combination are defective and bind one to the material world. Now Krishna will explain that all defects can be removed from every combination of modes of material nature. How? By chanting Om Tat Sat. So now how to purify all these activities? In all modes, even in mode of goodness, we are contaminated. We are not completely pure. We are better than others, but not completely pure. So what is the remedy now? How to purify uh, our austerity, food, sacrifice, charity? The action which is regulated and which is performed without attachment, without love or hatred, and without desire for fruitive result, is said to be in the mode of goodness. So from the beginning of the creation, the three words Om Tat Sat were used to indicate the supreme absolute truth. These three symbolic representations were used by the Brahmanas while chanting the hymns of the Vedas and during sacrifices for satisfaction of the Supreme. So just like I had explained to you that there are many zeros. Does it have any value? Nothing. It has no value. It's a waste of time. But if you just place one in front of all the zeros, then the value will increase 1,000 millions fold. As many zeros, it will increase that much. So that is the process. You must add God, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Om Tat Sat, His name, to all these activities, contaminated activities, and they become pure. That is the potency of the holy name, Om Tat Sat. So, regulated occupational duties as prescribed in the scriptures in terms of different orders and divisions of society, performed without attachment or proprietary rights and therefore without any love or hatred, and performed in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of the Supreme, without self-satisfaction or self-gratification, are called actions in mode of goodness. Akarma. You are performing everything, but for God. You are making a house so that God can be worshipped. You are making a house so that, other people who live in that house are peaceful and they progress on the spiritual path towards God realization. You are earning money and you are providing food to the family members as per your prescribed duties. You are giving them prasad. All you are earning, just add God, Om Tat Sat, His name, and they'll all be purified. 24. But actions performed with great effort by one seeking to gratify his desires and enacted from a sense of false ego is called action in the mode of passion. So any action which is performed for something in return is in the mode of passion. Anubandham of future bondage, shayam, destruction, himsam, and distress to others, anapeksha, without considering the consequences, paurusham, self-sanctioned, moha, by illusion, arabhyate is begun. And 25, the action performed in illusion, in disregard of scriptural injunctions, and without concern for future bondage or for violence or distress caused to others, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. So clearly, now this Dharma Yudh which was taking place, why was Duryodhan doing all these things? Even Duryodhan was performing lot of charity. He also did austerity. He was doing sacrifices also. But what was his purpose? Causing harm to others. The last one, this shloka number 25, Duryodhan was doing all this. How do you judge that a person is correct or not? One has to give account of one's action to the state or to the agents of the Supreme Lord called the Yamadutas. Irresponsible work is destructive because it destroys the regulative principles of scriptural injunction. It is often based on violence and is distressing to other living entities. Such irresponsible work is carried out in the light of one's personal experience. This is called illusion. And all such illusionary work is a product of mode of ignorance. So he wanted the kingdom, he wanted to enjoy the kingdom, no knowledge of dharma. And he was ready to get so many of his soldiers killed for just enjoying, for his own sense gratification. That is why Duryodhan was wrong. So clearly, so much clarity the Lord has given to Arjuna. See, what are your decisions based on? It is based on your conditioning. Today, you don't want to fight this battle. You want to perform austerity, which is not prescribed in the scriptures. You want to give up your duties, which is again not prescribed in the scriptures. And you are seeking happiness. It will not happen, Arjuna, because this is the truth. You are speaking like that because of your attachment. 26. One who performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature, without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, without wavering in success or failure, is said to be a worker in the mode of goodness. So one must perform all of one's duties without getting attached. What do you mean by attachment? You should not get disturbed by the result. If it is positive, you should not become mad in happiness. And if you lose something, you must not, lament. Once Srila Prabhupada had a factory of pharmaceutical factory. He was a businessman earlier in his Grasta life, but he was always spiritually inclined and he would study the scriptures and he would also preach and do along with his material duties. One day, but his material duties definitely used to take away a lot of his time. So one day he was in one such meeting, lecturing, and somebody wrote on a paper, on the stage and gave him the news that your factory has got burnt. It has caught fire. And Srila Prabhupada put away that receipt and he continued his lecture. So the devotees, his other associates, they thinking maybe Srila Prabhupada has not read it properly. They wrote it in bold letters and sent again. Prabhupada, your factory is on fire. He continued with this chapter because he was not attached. Whether you get something or you lose it, it shouldn't affect your state of mind and make you forget the purpose of life. Things come, things go. Sometimes they are in our stride, sometimes they are not in our stride. That is God's arrangement. One should tolerate these changes because they are temporary. Ultimately, whatever belongs to you actually is not yours. So what is there to lament? God has provided a certain facility today. It will be gone tomorrow. It's okay. So that is detachment. Whether whatever situation comes in life is designed by God, and I have to go through it and not forget the final purpose of my life. 27. The worker who is attached to work and the fruits of work, desiring to enjoy those fruits, who is greedy, always envious, impure, and moved by joy and sorrow, is said to be in the mode of passion. So these people are very attached in people who are in the mode of passion. Slight difficulty, they will howl and cry. They have lot of sympathy for themselves. I am so good. I am in a pitiable condition. And they're too attached to the fruits. A person who is too much attached to a certain kind of work or to the result because he has too much attachment for materialism, for her and home, wife and children. Such a person has no desire for higher elevation in life. He is simply concerned with making his world as materially comfortable as possible. He is generally very greedy and he thinks that anything attained by him is permanent and never to be lost. If something goes away, he will lament for years. Death, he will lament for years. He will never get out of soon. If there is a robbery or theft, again he will lament for years. And such a person is envious of others and prepared to do anything wrong for sense grat. He is envious. Why that person has, why I don't have, and what I have, others should not have. Duryodhan. I should not, just not that he has a kingdom. He had the desire that Pandavas should suffer. They should not enjoy. So envious. So this is the character of people in the mode of passion. 28. The worker who is always engaged in work against the injunctions of the scripture, who is materialistic, obstinate, cheating, and expert in insulting others, who is lazy, always morose, and procrastinating, is said to be a worker in the mode of ignorance. So whenever you are working in passion or ignorance, it will yield misery only because they are tainted with all these qualities. In the scriptural injunction, we find that sorts of work should be performed and what sort of work should not be performed. Those who do not care for those injunctions engage in work not to be done And such persons are generally material. They do sinful activities. And they think they are doing great job. Like according to our scripture, there are four, principal pillars of dharma: austerity, cleanliness, truthfulness, and compassion. So austerity is destroyed by intoxication. So intoxication is sinful. It is not a crime in the material world. It is legal, but it is a sin. Maybe the government may not punish you for getting involved in intoxication, but the laws of nature are going to punish you for intoxication because it is not enjoined in the Shastra. So they will commit all sinful activities and they will do also worship of all kinds as per their whim without understanding the purpose of these worships. The second pillar of dharma is truthfulness. It is destroyed by gambling. So keeping your mind engaged in any kind of sport will cause anxiety, whether it is a match. It will pollute your consciousness. This anxiety. Some people enjoy anxiety, What will happen? What will happen? What in a movie also? What will happen? What will happen? They are enjoying it. That is foolishness. All the things which corrupt your consciousness should be given up, not more. Then compassion. This pillar of dharma is destroyed by non-vegetarian food, meat eating. You don't have compassion for other living entities, their life, their pain, their sorrow. What will it yield? Misery for that animal also and even for us. So this compassion is destroyed. And the fourth is cleanliness. This is destroyed by illicit sex life outside your marriage, having relationship with too many partners without taking their responsibility of the children or the offspring. This is sinful. It may be legal. Abortion is legal now, but it is sinful. Even in animal species, you see, the animals, they protect their young ones. But have you seen any mother who herself kills her child in her womb itself because of lack of control towards sense gratification? They get a soul in this world and they mercilessly snatch away that opportunity of that soul to be in a human form by aborting that child. Maybe the government doesn't know, but it is not unseen by the Lord and his agents. They are always watching. So these kind of activities, sinful activities, even without our knowledge, they degrade us and they pull us down further into more misery. They work according to the modes of nature, not according to the injunctions of the scripture. Such workers are not very gentle and generally they are always cunning and expert in insulting others. They are very lazy, even though they have some duty, they do not do it properly and they put it aside to be done later on. Therefore, they appear to be morose. What is the result? They are always morose, unhappy, always disheartened. And this self-sympathy, so that is a grief, is a symptom of contamination. It comes because you are lazy, you are not engaged in the right type of work. They do not, they have some, they, even though they have some duty, they do not do it properly and they put it aside to be done later on. Therefore, they appear to be morose. They procrastinate. Anything which can be done in an hour, they drag on for years. Such workers are situated in the mode of ignorance. So that is what they call Sankalpa Shakti, It is less in people who are in the mode of ignorance. Their sankalp is so weak, slight disturbance, just get off track, never try to follow their duty, procrastinate. They are lazy. So what is the effect of this mode of ignorance? All. And what will be the result? Maybe they'll go down into animal species for not performing their duty well. 29. O winner of wealth. Now please listen as I tell you in detail of different kinds of understanding and determination according to three modes of material nature. So 30. O son of Pratha, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, is in the mode of goodness. Here you have the knowledge. Only in Sattva Gun you will get this discretion. What has to be done, what has to be not done. Performing actions in terms of directions of scriptures is called pravritti, or executing actions that deserve to be performed. And actions which are not so directed are not to be performed. One who does not know the scriptural direction becomes entangled in the action and reaction of work, understanding which discriminates by intelligence is situated in the mode of goodness. So person who are in knowledge, they are in the mode of goodness. They know clearly what should be done, what should not be done. No confusion. 31. O son of Pritha, that understanding which cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion, between action that should be done and action that should not be done, is in the mode of passion. Confused. He knows little bit, not completely, not very clear. So they do things, which bind them further for fruitive things. 32. That understanding which considers irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion under the spell of illusion and darkness and strives away in the wrong direction, O Partha, is in the mode of ignorance. So they don't know what is religion, what is irreligion. Actual religion is Jivara Swarupo hai Krishnara Nityadas. That is actual religion.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Mataji, we are going for 18th chapter.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Page turn. We have to finish chapter. I'm so sorry. I get carried away when I'm doing,
Yes. I was just looking into the slokas. I did not find. I see in 17th chapter we don't have all these slokas. So I'm getting confused
Yes,
from
yes,
that time.
yes. Thank you so much.
Because
Actually,
I
thank you so much.
I thought my book might be a different book, and I was looking into my book and it's not there.
No, Prabhuji, I think it is my fault. The page turned and it was again 26, 27.
Yeah.
Because this chapter is small. I was wondering, it ends at 28.
Yes, yes.
Thanks for reminding.
I was
So
totally confused.
I'm very sorry, Prabhuji. The page turned. I got carried away. Anything done as a sacrifice, charity, or penance without faith in the Supreme is impermanent. That is called asat and is useless both in this life and the next. So actually we have come to the end of this chapter. We were only discussing the charity, austerity, the food, and sacrifice in this chapter. The next chapter we will discuss the other aspects of these three gunas. So here the sacrifice, anything done as a sacrifice, charity or penance without faith in the Supreme, O son of Pratha, is impermanent. It is called asat and is useless both in this life and next. We have actually ended this chapter. Thank you, Prabhuji. So, any questions or comments?
Yes, Mataji. Am I audible, Mataji?
Yes, yes, please.
Mataji, as you in the beginning of the class, we discussed about Vasudeva, Sri Krishna is the only path to reach salvation. People are following the demigods without any right practice. That is not the actually path to salvation, but to uh, achieve our passions or something else.
Yes.
Yes. So, see, Mataji, like Buddha Deva is there, correct? Buddha Deva is one of the guru who guide people to reach to salvation. So, people who are following different philosophies like Buddha Deva or maybe Shirdi Sai. So, what actually they do? Where they will reach?
It is clearly mentioned. Those who worship the demigods, they have their own planet.
Yes, Mataji, Buddha Deva.
Prabhuji, please unmute yourself. I muted because there was no
Yeah,
disturbance.
I'm trying to say Buddha Deva is one of the guru who guides us. Shirdi Sai is one of the guru who guides us. They are not demigods, they are the guru. So what will happen if we follow the path of Buddha
Yes,
Deva?
let me come to that. Prabhuji. See, when why the Buddha avatar, the purpose of Buddha avatar, you should know in detail. Actually, Buddha is considered to be an incarnation of Vishnu only. It is mentioned in our Shastra. But please understand the purpose of that incarnation. Don't get misled. So when the people got very corrupted, and in the name of sacrifices, they started slaughtering animals whimsically, for getting some fruit in return. The entire society was corrupted. And it was very difficult for people to know to stop the people from just cutting away animals in the name of sacrifice. So for that purpose, the incarnation of Buddha had come. And when Buddha came, he did away with all Vedic rituals. He said the Vedic rituals, they are meant for our purification. So from personal worship of Lord, he came to impersonal worship of Lord. But the problem is that in impersonalism, the entire realization of God is not possible, which I told you. That God is realized in 3 stages: the Brahman, the Paramatma, and Bhagavan. You may realize God. Usually, the Buddhists, they meditate on void, on nothing. So the sense control is definitely recommended. But for what purpose? That purpose is not clarified. As per Buddha, yes, you must control. He discouraged non-violence, the principles, but some. I'm not saying that Lord Buddha is incorrect. It's just that it is incomplete. It's not taking you to your destination of the root of the tree. Okay, you meditate. He said, he had some 8-fold path. He said, right thought leads to right action. I don't know about it completely. So it is correct. But again, so what happened at that time is definitely the slaughtering of animals stopped with Buddhism. It was one of the major principles of Dharma was being compromised at that time. So Desh Kal, so the Lord has said, that he will come and incarnate whenever these principles are compromised. Dharma samsthapnathaya sambhavani yuge yuge. The Lord will come. He may adopt some methodology to stop. The whole idea was to stop this slaughter thing, which was rampant in the society. And he was able to do that. Non-violence, this animal sacrifice, it stopped. But that doesn't mean that the personification of God is wrong. And then came Adi Shankaracharya. He again re-established the Vedas and he explained what is impersonal worship. You please see the progression. Adi Shankaracharya, because of Buddhism, the entire Vedas were wiped out. He again came and re-established, because people had got used to impersonal worship of the Lord as per Buddhism, the realization would be incomplete. So he gradually brought them back to the Vedas first, Adi Shankaracharya. Then came Sripad Ramanujacharya. And then he corrected the philosophy of Adi Shankaracharya and he got the people to the Vedic personal worship of the Lord. That is why you see Tirupati Balaji, Sri Rangam, all these temples were established by Sripad Ramanujacharya. And they gave the right translation to the... So every time this knowledge keeps getting corrected. Whenever the parampara breaks, these principles of dharma are compromised. All the rituals, everything that we follow is to withhold these 4 pillars of dharma and reach the realization of our relationship with God. That is of a servant and master. This is our relationship. And an impersonal realization of God will not get you to this personal level of relationship. It's not wrong, it is incomplete. And definitely all gurus are respectable. They all should be. When Lord says that one must even respect an ant, what to talk about gurus? But please remember that, Ardha Gyan or incomplete knowledge is more dangerous. It will lead you to the wrong destination. Just like, for example, you measure the area of a circle, right? In that, I think pi r square, the formula is, r, the radius of the circle, is constant. Now, if somebody says, I am a maths teacher, and if somebody says the value of pi is 22 divided by 3, if I'm not wrong, 6.3333 infinity, okay? It's constant. So if somebody says, no, the value of pi is 7. So as a teacher, isn't it my responsibility to correct him? So they are not wrong, but incomplete knowledge, like, once I heard a Muslim boy, he told me a story, how incomplete. So he had read, he was a very nice, pious boy actually, and he would go to the masjid every day, do everything, all the sevas and all. And he would read their holy book Quran also every day. And one day he, read, he used to open the Quran like this, without any system. He used to take the book and used to close his eye, open whatever page came, and he used to start reading from the beginning, from top. And that day he read, Masjid mein jana guna hai. And he continued reading from there. And he was a great follower. Next day he stopped going to masjid. And whoever the priest was there, he got shocked. This boy was coming 15 days over, 1 month over. Now he is not coming. So he got worried. He went to his house and he said, why did you stop coming to the masjid? So he said, I read in the Quran ki masjid mein jana guna hai. So I stopped. I said, where is it written in the scriptures that masjid mein jana guna hai? He said, show it to me. And he showed him the book. And he started reading from top of the page, Masjid mein jana guna hai. And then this priest, he turned the page over, backside. And there it was written, हाथ पैर धोए बिना मस्जिद में जाना गुनाह है. But this incompleteness of knowledge is going to restrict your growth. So we are not discouraging other gurus, but our Shastra gives you a complete knowledge. When you want to take knowledge, take it in complete. Don't take like, I'll just take the pastry icing, not the cake. You have to take it completely. Only then you will be able to get to your destination. Otherwise, it will not be possible. So we must respect all the people who are guiding us on this path. But one must have discretion to take it from the authorities, people who have like authority in explaining these things to you. Somebody might explain a certain aspect of, scripture. Somebody might explain another aspect of scriptures. But one must go for complete knowledge, not incomplete. That is the whole idea, nothing else. So I hope that answers your question, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
So
One more question, Mataji. As you said, correct, helping people like giving food in charity. If it is prasad, then it is really going to help us. But if it is not prasad, then to whom we are giving and what kind of food we are giving, that depends. Let's say a beggar is coming to us and we are giving him the vegetarian food, not any non-veg or anything else. Rather giving money, we are giving him vegetarian food. That is what I do. If someone comes to me for begging, rather giving money, I give them the food. So if you are giving them the food, so I think that can be taken as good one. That is my understanding.
No, that is the mode of passion.
Okay.
Because you are doing charity, but without scriptural injunction. Food, even vegetarian food. Prabhuji, I think the voice is echoing. Can everybody mute? So even vegetarian food has reaction. Please note that. Vegetarian food, we think that vegetarian is pure. No, you have killed so many rats. The crops don't grow. You till the soil. You kill so many ants and worms. You pull out a plant from root, coriander, etc., carrot. You just take away that plant's life. Even if vegetarian food is not purified, the person who has eaten that food will have reaction. So that is why even vegetarian food must be offered to the Lord. Om Tat Sat. That is what is said. If you add God to everything as the center, it will be purified. No matter in what mode. Suppose instead of vegetarian food, you give that person prasad, then it is in Shuddha Sattva, not even goodness.
No, my Mataji, the question was here because when we are on the road, like let's say I'm saying, or traffic
Then,
signal.
in that case, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he gets angry at this, when we don't carry prasad in our bags. It's not that we don't do charity, but you see all our devotees, they will carry some small packets of prasad in their purse or bag or pocket, or they'll put it in the car, and whenever at crossings, because if somebody is asking you, you must not refuse charity. You must help them. But how? Are you with the vegetarian food? Can you connect that person to God? Is he going to? Now, when you give prasad and somebody appreciates that, please remember, it's a principle. Prasad means it is Swayam God. prasad is non-different from God. You are attaching that person to the supreme absolute truth. He may be anything. He may be drunkard, he may be a sinner, he may be anything. It will not incur any reaction. But if you are giving him vegetarian food, that food itself has reaction. It's not purified completely. You will incur that reaction, and after eating that food, if he does some more action, you will get involved in that also. So this wisdom has to be there. Otherwise, why would Lord explain charity in so much detail? The scriptural injunction is, please read the last sloka of this. Anything done as a sacrifice, charity, or penance without faith in the Supreme, O son of Pratha, is impermanent. It is called a sat and is useless both in this life and the next. I'm not saying this. This is Lord Krishna is saying. If you're not connecting it to the Supreme, you will be revolving up and down on this banyan tree, but not get out of it. It is not akaram. As soon as it is away from God, it is karam vikaram. That is why. So I make it a practice. You see, ISKCON, huge amounts of prasadam are distributed. Even in COVID, lakhs of people are fed. Food for Life, we have a program under which thousands of people are fed. But what? Prasad. And there are scriptural injunctions as to what can be offered to the Lord. You cannot offer non-vegetarian food to the Lord. In any of the temple, have you seen that? No. There is a scriptural standard about what foods you can offer to the Lord. So that standard must be followed. Out of rebel or out of our own mental concoction, we can make a certain way. Mind can be convinced in many ways. We can convince our mind with so much logical reasoning. Mind is like that. That is why the Shastra is there. Shastra Chakshu, because we are conditioned. We cannot think clearly. That is why there is a need to follow the Shastra. Because of our conditioning, we will come to some conclusion. That I hope that answers your question, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
So any questions or comments?
Hello.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Actually, I wanted to ask what should be the dinacharya according to Shastras?
Mataji, the dinacharya, actually in Kali Yuga, the dinacharya, that is why Srila Prabhupada said, that the bhakti yoga is more simple and it can be inculcated in your existing life also. Actually, as per Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there are only two principles for spiritual elevation, for getting pure. One is always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Two principles. Now, how that can be done? We have been taught, like in the morning we get up, we take a bath, we do Mangalarti, we chant our rounds. 2 hours early morning we devote to that. And the minimum recommended by Srila Prabhupada is 16 rounds, though actually it should be 24/7. But because we are very polluted and not so competent in Kali Yuga in today's time, Srila Prabhupada said, you just do 16, rest I will take care. It's not that we must do only 16. We have to constantly be in connection with the Lord. And then what happens is we worship the deities and we make prasad and offer. So when we are offering this prasad, all the contamination is removed from our food. And when we are earning money to get the items for this prasad, all the contamination from our earning is removed. And when we share this prasad with others, the charity that we perform, in that the contamination is removed. Then we go to the office. So like that, our entire life is dedicated to Krishna. When we connect to Krishna in this way, then we do our work like regular people. In fact, there are brilliant performers in ISKCON at very high positions in the corporate and even otherwise in the government UPSC services. They do their work very well. But one must know how to connect his activities to Krishna. So then we go to the office and definitely we avoid food which is not offered to the Lord, because whenever we have this kind of food in emergencies also, you are bound to get the contamination in your consciousness. First thing will happen is your mentality, your likes, dislikes will change with food. That is already told in Bhagavad Gita. So then we come back from office. Again, we spend some time reading books and learning about God. And we carry out all our duties. And that is how our life is purified. It starts with actually, if you start eating prasad, lot of things are taken care of. Your earning is taken care of. Your charity is taken care of. And austerity, because you are keeping your senses away from, food which is not offered, that is great austerity. You don't eat whatever and however you like. You restrict your tongue to just Krishna Prasad. It's a great austerity, tapasya. What does the tapasvi do? He goes away into the forest. Why he goes away? To separate his senses from sense objects. And when we are restricting our tongue in speech and in eating, we are performing great austerity. So when we have these 4 regulative principles in our life, no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex, this is a great austerity which we can do in our regular life. Just avoid these. If you come to festivals in ISKCON temples, hundreds of varieties of prasadam, is offered. Bhoga is offered to the Lord. Before the Lord eats, it's bhoga. After the Lord eats, it is prasadam. It's offered to the Lord, not one, hundreds of varieties. There is so much variety of food we can make with just grains, milk, pulses, and delicious items. Everything possible. Then what is the need to kill innocent animals? Suppose you are living in Greenland or Mount Everest where there is nothing. Even at those heights, the sages, they have mastered the art of controlling their breath. Just from air, they extract food. You think they get food high up in Himalayas? When they are deep in penance, they don't even open their eyes for months together. How do they survive? Breathing. With food, what do? We supply oxygen to different cells of our body. Isn't it? Oxygen is supplied. So there is no need to end somebody's life. It's a very big sin for our palate. And some people now, this new theory of B12 is there. And I wonder, how does the elephant gets its B12 if only non-vegetarian food is the source of B12? How do they grow so big? Building blocks, they say. So our theories, years ago, it was said that ghee should not be eaten, refined oils, They prevent heart disease, give up ghee and all. Now again they have researched that no, cow ghee is better, not buffalo ghee, and oil should not be had. They are bad for your health. So our researches, they will go on. Somebody will say caffeine is good, somebody will say caffeine is bad, but Shastra is not wrong. From so many years, there are Brahmanas who have, even now I see very old Brahmana, Sri Rangam Yugo, 100 years old, 90 years old, so much longevity they have. And they are living in Sattva. And it is already told by Lord that this kind of food and lifestyle is going to give you lot of longevity. It will keep you away from diseases. It will give you happiness. And it will also give you the intellect to understand God. So one must start living like that, not abruptly. It's not easy, I know, but at least start offering water to God. Many times, people don't understand what we say. When we speak Bhagavad Gita to them, it doesn't make any sense to them. But when you give them prasadam, everybody likes. Just by appreciating that aspect of God, they will get purified. And then gradually they will come to the level of understanding God. So all your activities must be purified like that. When you open your eyes in the morning only, you open your phone. Yes, phone is technology, but we must use it. I see the Lord Mangalarti Darshan at our center. I can see the Tulsi Aarti. My eyes are getting purified. My nose is getting purified by smelling the prasad or the flowers offered to Lord, or even the incense, the agarbatti that you light in your house. Offer it to Lord, and that smell spreads around your house, and anybody who smells that will get connected to God. This is the process of Bhakti Yoga. Very simple. You don't need to go to the forest also. In your house, you can practice. So I hope that answers your question, Mataji.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Ma'am, prasad, like, then what exactly, according to scriptures, um, should we offer to God?
Patram Pushpam Phallam Toyam Yome Bhakta Prayachati. Any leaf, any flower, any fruit, any water. Nowhere it is written that you have to kill an animal. Anything. And of course, our Shastra has injunctions that you cannot offer onion and garlic to the Lord. And there are certain pulses also which are not offered to the Lord. They should be avoided. And recently I read an article that, dogs should not be given garlic. It is poisonous for them. And in some countries, the pilots are not given onion, garlic a few days before they fly, because it is scientifically proven that it has an effect on our mind. So that is why certain foods are, restricted from being offered to the Lord. So you must go through them. Like you can offer all dry fruits, paneer, butter, rabdi, milk products, pulses, dals, fruits, all can be offered.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Edible fruits you can order. Offer, they are there. The list is there in our Shastra, what can be offered and what cannot. So that you offer water also, just that the container of water you have in your house, just offer it to the Lord. The whole water of your house is purified. Offered water you mix in the pot, finished. Everybody will have that. Begin like that. Later on, because suddenly if you become very strict, others may not like it. But slowly you can start. Gradually. abruptly, we must not disturb because people are not in that understanding. So we may have come to the level of understanding ourselves, but we stay with so many people in the house. They may not. Let's go one at a time, gradually. And God helps you. He will create an environment where everybody will cooperate. Start like that, Mataji.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we'll end our session here. It's already out of time. We'll see you all tomorrow for the final chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It's long. I will try to finish it, and I'm sorry for getting carried away today. Thank you, Satyanand Sao Prabhuji, for reminding. So we will try and complete it tomorrow. So till then, Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuba evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Ananta koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare
Hare Krishna.